Okay, everybody, it's 10:30, time for the meeting. You're going to be okay by yourself then, are you, Eddie?
Yeah, no problem.
If only young Eddie hadn't brought the toaster through from the kitchen into the office. If only he hadn't switched it on next to the file tray full of papers.
Hello?
And most important of all, if only he had known how to react in those precious few moments when a fire starts. Fires in Britain kill about 800 people every year and cause £700 million worth of damage. Ruined plans, ruined businesses, ruined lives. It's what happens in the first few minutes or even seconds of any fire that are critical. How you react to a fire will determine the extent of the damage and the threat to people's lives. Doing the wrong thing or doing nothing at all allows a fire to spread. And fire can spread very, very quickly. So, if a fire breaks out where you work, what will you do?
I'm not sure what I'd do. I'd probably panic.
Well, we get loads of fire alarms around here, so I'd probably just ignore it. What would I do? I'd probably just run.
If only Eddie and his co-workers had been trained in what to expect and what to do in the event of fire.
It's a situation where if we dither, if we hesitate, if we get it wrong, there isn't a second chance. Now, it's very difficult to construct a single model procedure of what to do in the event of fire, a procedure that would be suitable for every situation in every possible premises. So, given that there's a legal duty on employers to care for their employees, every employer has to devise a fire action plan for their particular premises. But of course, it's no good at all having a plan unless everybody knows what that plan is and what it is that they're expected to do. So training is also an important part of the employer's duty.
But Eddie hasn't been trained. His employers failed him. He'll have to fend for himself when the crunch comes. What sort of a chance does he stand?
It's 10:30, time for the meeting. You're going to be okay by yourself then, are you, Eddie?
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Hang about. I won't be a minute. I've just got to get my notes from the car, okay?
This is ridiculous. There is another way of saving money.
Hello? No, I'm afraid he's not here at the moment. Can I take a message? Okay, I'll get him to ring back.
Okay, so what Eddie did was pretty stupid. If he'd been trained, he probably would have recognized the potential problem and kept the toaster in the right place. But he hadn't, and he didn't.
All right, okay, I'll just have a look a minute.
If he'd been trained, he'd certainly have known the drill when the fire did start. But he hadn't, and he didn't. Whether you work in an office or a factory, in a corner shop or an out-of-town superstore, in a small family business or a multinational concern, the 4 key actions to be taken in the event of fire are the same. Raise the alarm. Call the fire brigade.
Want to report a fire?
Attack the fire. And evacuate the building. If only Eddie had been trained. He would have known to follow the 4 steps instantly, without even having to think about it. And if only he had been trained to know which type of extinguisher to use on which type of fire, then he'd have known never to use water on live electrical equipment. It makes sense to attack a small fire yourself, but only after you've alerted everybody else by triggering the fire alarm. If only Eddie had triggered the alarm. In an office fire such as this, the temperature can reach 900 degrees centigrade in 4 or 5 minutes. At this temperature, glass and metal such as aluminium would be melting. But nobody else in the building knows about it yet, and no firefighters are on the way to deal with it or help Eddie. He's on his own. No other people, no training, no chance. Outside contractors and visitors, as well as employees, should be made aware of which escape route to be used in the event of fire, and with an alternative route in case the main escape route is impassable. Fire exits must be clearly signed and must be kept clear at all times.
I checked through the list. We're missing Eddie Green, our office trainee. Has anyone seen him? No one's come out with you? No, he's the only one missing at the moment.
All persons cut across her?
There's one missing, Eddie Green.
Did that other bloke get out? The one who was doing the plumbing outside our office?
Price.
190.
Oh, barely.
Take it up, you sir. 190, okay. Go.
If only the outside contractor had been added to the role, then the firefighters would have known 2 people were trapped inside the burning building. So what if Eddie had been trained? What if he'd known what to do? Measures that seem like common sense when we watch a situation like this develop on television are actually not nearly so easy in real life, precisely because time is not on our side.
So, as we've just seen in the video, small fires will grow into big fires very, very quickly. The smoke will fill quite a large area extremely quickly, to the extent that it's difficult to see the flames, let alone extinguish the fire. It all gets very confusing very quickly. The person who discovers the fire must, as quickly as possible, raise the alarm at the nearest manual call point.
All staff should be instructed in the location and use of the fire alarm call points. Provision should be made in every building for sounding an alarm as the signal to evacuate.
Assembly point A, everybody.
If you hear it, that's just what you should do. Get out, straight away. But you can only do that if you already know the escape routes and if the exits are clear. So check them out before you need to use them. The fire brigade has to be called. Different companies will have different plans for making sure this is done. But usually, the person who discovers the fire alerts the company switchboard, who telephone the brigade. But whatever the plan, it's essential there's a set procedure and everyone knows their role in it.
Can I take your name?
What's vital is to communicate where the fire is, how big, and if anyone else is in danger.
Okay, can I take a contact number?
Once the alarm has been raised, attack the fire. Learn which type of fire extinguisher can be used on which kind of fire. Never, for example, use a water extinguisher on an electrical fire. The FPA video, Extinguishing Fires in the Workplace, gives more information, and you should make sure you've seen it.
No, it's quite small at the moment, but it might be getting bigger, so it might be getting out of control.
We've seen how dangerous it can be to delay reporting an outbreak. But it's also a bad thing to let a small fire that could be contained instantly grow into a big one by spending time reporting. There may be other people close at hand.
Alan, can you report the fire? It's in my office. I'm going to try and put it out. Yeah, okay.
If so, the person discovering the fire should immediately try to contain it, at the same time instructing another person to report the outbreak. Once that's done, the second person should collect another extinguisher of the right type and try to help put out the fire, if this still seems feasible. Don't fight a fire if there's a possibility of your escape route being cut off, and stop fighting if the fire is getting bigger despite your efforts, or if it spreads towards explosive or toxic materials, gas cylinders, or pressurized containers such as aerosols. It's time to evacuate the building. Your escape evacuation must be to a pre-arranged plan. Close the doors behind you as you leave. You must be familiar with the escape route to be used in the event of fire, and with an alternative route in case the main route is impassable, as well as the assembly point for the roll call that will ensure that everyone has been accounted for.
They're all accounted for, contractors and staff.
Of course, firefighters are highly trained professionals. You should attack a fire only if you've had training and if it's safe to do so. In real life, of course, we can't hit the pause button or rewind the tape. We only have one chance to get it right first time. You can't do that if you haven't been trained. Your company must have a plan, and you've got to know how it works and what your part is. It may include automatic fire detection, perhaps with a sprinkler system, which will activate in the affected area and contain the fire until the brigade arrives. But whatever the plan is, check it today. If you leave it until a fire starts, then you are already leaving it too late.
Well, there was just so much smoke. It was black and just getting thicker and thicker and thicker, you know, and it was like a nightmare. We just didn't know what to do. Nobody told us what to do. We had no idea.
Remember, in the event of fire, raise the alarm. Call the fire brigade. Attack the fire. Evacuate the building. Don't find yourself saying, "If only." These excerpts are from the FPA's video training aid, Extinguishing Fires in the Workplace. This offers information about the correct use of appropriate extinguishers and other equipment to attack
small workplace fires. Copies of the FPA's catalogue of training courses, as well as
a list of publications containing details of a range of training aids, videos, slide sets, leaflets, are available from the FPA at the address given on the cassette case.